Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite and the world's favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay, back for episode 6. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Or as my Boston people would say, how we doing? It's been a minute. It has been probably about 6 or 7 weeks since I've recorded a podcast, and in that 6 weeks, a lot has changed, not only for me, but then the world. Kind of was pushing this heavy when I first started the podcast, and then moved to the new content crib, started it up again. And then I was just kind of realizing like I just wanted to go on this whole new experience, meet new people wave. And so I was focusing on work during the weekday, and then anytime I had downtime during the week after work hours or on the weekend, I was just pushing myself to go try new things. I started getting into high yoga. A girl that I work with brought me to my first 2 classes. I went to my first rave. I started going to the beach literally every single weekend for about 6 weeks straight. And I went more times in that month and a half period than I had gone in probably the close to 3 years of living in LA. So I was just out there. I was just living it up, finally starting to embrace this whole living in LA since I'm not, driving for Uber anymore and I actually can live a life. And then obviously with everything that's happening right now with coronavirus, I was starting to have some extra downtime, a lot of downtime. And I realized maybe this is the time to lean into getting back into the podcast, because I can only watch so much Netflix. I can only, kill so much time that at some point I start getting this itch and I want to create and I want to share my voice. And so back into it, you know what I'm saying? I just put out a vlog on YouTube a couple days ago about surrendering to the pandemic, and that's what this is what is happening right now. I'm surrendering to the fact that I can't control what is happening in the world, but what I can control is this downtime and trying to reinvest in myself and, get back into podcasting. So as bad as that is, I'm trying to find positivity and I'm trying to find ways to lean into it and to, keep creating. I'll tell you right now, this beard right here, me being the world's favorite bearded man, this is going to get out of control real quick. Barbara texted me 2 weeks ago saying, hey, this is my last day in the shop. Do you want to come through? Otherwise, I don't know when we're going to be opened up again. I said, nope, I'm going all in on the caveman status. Just be prepared for when I can come back, because I'm going to be a mess. So just embrace, what this is looking like. It's going to get worse before it gets better. So, full caveman beard is in full swing. So something that I just, woke up this morning and I said, I told myself yesterday, I'm 100% creating tomorrow, which is Sunday. And I said, I don't know what I'm going to create, but I'll just figure it out. So I woke up this morning, sat down, had some breakfast, just try to think through a couple different ideas of what I want to talk about. And something that immediately came to my mind is this idea of reaching my highest potential, kind of why I got back, why I'm here recording the podcast. I have downtime. And it's been this continuous thing inside me for the last couple of years. I would say it's probably been in me since I was a child, wanting to push my comfort zone and wanting to see my full capabilities. But I didn't really go all in like I have been until the last couple of years after graduating college. But I have this I have this energy inside me that just wants to see myself succeed. I just want to push myself to see what is that ultimate potential. Like, who could I become? If I envision myself becoming a podcaster, if I envision myself becoming a full-time creator, if I envision myself accomplishing these dreams, could I actually do it? And time again, I've set these goals for myself. I think it's impossible, or I think, how am I going to get there? And then I put my head down, I start putting in the work, and I was able to accomplish my goals by just continuously pushing the envelope of wanting to see what is my ultimate potential. And I think we all have the ability inside of us to reach that ultimate potential, and we just have to be real with ourselves about what it's going to take, what do these goals look like, and how am I going to get there? And I think there is the flip side, right, of wanting to reach that full potential. And something that I've always been my own biggest critic. My mother would always tell me that when I was growing up, when I would get upset about certain things in my life, and it could be something that my parents would be there to yell at me or should be yelling at me, but my mom would see in me that she didn't even have to say anything, because I was just I would let down myself more than I would let down them. And so that's always been something inside me where I've always been my biggest critic, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I try to think it's a better thing than not. And so because I am my biggest critic and because I'm trying to reach this, full potential, I'm always asking myself, am I doing enough? There's always more to do. So when I think in the last couple months, I've really started to gain a better appreciation for rest and from stepping away from the work and like enjoying myself and going out and living and meeting new people and experiences like I was just talking on. But for a long time, when I was really doing Purpose in the Youth podcast, I was so head down that I if I wasn't working, if I wasn't networking, if I wasn't doing something that was going to push me forward, making money so I could reinvest in myself, I was always asking myself, am I doing enough? If I was sitting down watching a movie, I would have that in the back of my mind. You could be doing this, you could be doing that. On top of that, you have, being your own biggest critic. You're always asking yourself, how do I improve my weaknesses? How can I get better at the things that I'm not great at? One thing I've realized is that we all have certain skills. There's nobody in this world that is literally perfect at everything. I think you can improve on every area of your life, especially the weaknesses. But just because you're not as great as somebody else is with that thing doesn't make you a bad person. For instance, I have plenty of people in my circle or people that I'm networked with that are much better creatives than me. And I mean that in the sense of like, they're just years ahead of me, right? I didn't really pick up a camera until 3 or 4 years ago. These people have been doing it for 10 plus years. That's cool. That's fine. That doesn't mean that I can't reach that. It just means that, maybe they've had more experience, or I'm just not the greatest creative. There's certain things that I lack, like, fonts and like transitions, and there's the minor details of like a creative that I haven't really learned and gotten the best at yet, but I'm embracing it. I'm trying to get better. I lean into the people that I'm around and I try to ask certain questions and understand what's their thought process, and I'm bringing that to life. So you can improve these weaknesses. Another thing is I'm big on is just, have I learned something new today? I'm always asking myself, did I read today for 30 minutes? Did I watch some YouTube videos that inspired me? Did I watch a documentary? Did I do something that is going to put me one step forward? Something that's always in the back of my mind. I think that's just people that are successful and people that are striving to reach their potentials are always asking themselves, what have I learned today? It could be 1, 2, or 3 things. Even if it's just one thing that you like learned, it's going to put you one little step forward. And it's these little moments that we don't realize how important it's going to be in the bigger picture. We don't understand that just learning how to turn on the camera and set up with the lighting, just learning how to start a podcast, just learning how to pick up the pencil and start drawing. It's so hard. It's not so hard. It is hard to start, but it's even harder to recognize and appreciate that one little step is actually setting you up. So you're always constantly asking yourself, what can I learn? How can I improve? Which is a good thing in my mind. And back to like I was saying, sometimes you're sitting around watching Netflix and you're like, all right, dude, I'm on my 5th episode of Ozark in the last 6 hours, 7 hours. Like, I think it's time to, get off your ass and do something. But yeah, it's just part of the deal. When you're trying to push yourself to your highest potential, you have to accept that you're going to be your own, you're going to be your own, hopefully you will be your own biggest critic, which is going to help you get off your ass, put in the work, continuously seek improvements, and ultimately keep you going. So what I've realized is that 3 things that really help me reach my full potential is my physical health, my mental health, and my spiritual health. Physical health being working out 5 to 6 days a week. Mental health being meditating for 10 minutes every morning. Sometimes at lunch, I try to squeeze in 5 minutes, which honestly can be the ultimate game changer. Sometimes I feel like it's almost like a caffeine rush. I've noticed that 5 minutes of just sitting down, turning my phone on vibrate mode or airplane mode, setting the timer for 5 minutes, sitting outside and just meditating for 5 minutes, absolute game changer. I come back for the second half of the day, fully stocked up, pedal to the metal. The bearded man is ready to go. And then lastly, of the 3, spiritual health, just continuously trying to learn and understand the world. There's not a specific religion that I follow, but I definitely find myself as like a spiritual person and trying to understand, like Stoicism and, Buddhism, all the isms and stuff, just like being open-minded and trying to understand the the way people see the world and the perspective of it, because I think there's just so many different perspectives. But there's a couple of things that I remind myself of in this process of trying to reach my potential. Like I said, the physical, mental, and spiritual health, I think are something really important to just my everyday life. But in that process, there's a couple things that I continuously find myself reminding myself of. Patience. Patience, patience, patience. How many times have we heard it? How many times do we hate to hear it? It's the truth. Nothing great was built overnight. You've heard that. We see where successful people are in this moment, but we have no idea what it took them to get to where they are today or the sacrifices they've made along the way. It can be really frustrating when you have this idea, and I always am referring back to purpose in the youth because I learned so many lessons, and it was like the one thing that I really was all in on for my life. There was so many times growing up I tried playing guitar, I played basketball, I played soccer, played golf. I was big in video games. I tried a lot of things, but the podcast was the first thing in my life that I really went all in and was like so invested in it, and just would wake up in the first 10 seconds I would think about was how do I improve today? Am I recording a podcast? Am I researching? So the podcast, purpose in the youth, is always going to be kind of that example that I have. And, for patience, for me, it was just reminding myself of what I wanted to create and knowing that I would create it. And just looking at it as one episode a week and just, continuously doing that to the point that it grows to over 150 episodes. But it took a long time. It took, 3.5 years to build that. But I knew it was going to take a long time. I had done the research. I had understood that, successful people, it doesn't happen overnight. And we've heard it so many times, but sometimes we just have to keep hearing it to remind ourselves of whatever these goals that we're reaching towards. It's possible we can get them, but it's going to take a long time. And you got to fall in love with that patience and that journey of the small progress daily, those, small wins. And just knowing that with time, you're going to get to, where you're supposed to be. The next thing on top of that, like I was just saying, was small wins. Counting up those 1 to 3 small wins a day, just trying to find little progress daily, little baby steps. Little baby steps are just going to get me, a little bit farther than where I was when I woke up. By the end of the day, I will have a full podcast recorded, cut, and ready for the world. That's a big win for me. You might look at it as just a podcast, but to me, that's a big win. I recorded a podcast, recorded and shot and edited and scripted. There's so many underlying wins underneath that to write out the script, to then, actually set up the lights, the cameras, record it, then post-production, edit it, put it out there to the world. That's a win to me. And so I think what's really important in trying to reach our full potential is to just count up the small wins. Count up the small wins. It's going to add more fuel to the fire. It's going to keep you going. And in those moments where you're not really feeling that motivation, you kind of lean on this idea of okay, I know I'm trying to reach to this big goal, but if I just do these 1 or 2 things today, it'll get me a little bit closer. It might get me 0.5% closer, but you do that over a long period of time, the 0.5% times 10 times 20, 30, and then you're at your goal. So count up those small wins. Next thing I remind myself of, do the work. It's the most non-glamorous part of successful people. We all see Drake flying on his big ass jet with champagne. We see all these successful people in the world. And I always shout out Drake just because, he's a sixth god. He's the man. The work is the hardest part, the work is not glamorous. It's not sexy. It's not fun. It's usually lonely. It's usually you by yourself at a desk, pounding away on a keyboard, thinking out these ideas, writing out these scripts, writing a book, journaling your business plan. It's not glamorous. There's nothing glamorous about it, but that's where the success lies. It's in the process of doing the actual work day in and day out. And you got to fall in love with it. You got to fall in love with the idea that nobody sees the vision that you have for your life. You have to fall in love with the idea that it's going to take a long time, and you just have to keep doing that work and knowing that even on the days you're not motivated, put on your shoes. Hold on. You can't put on your shoes first. You got to take a shower. Then you got to brush your teeth. Then you got to put on your underwear. Then you got to put on your pants. You got to put on your shirt. Then put on your shoes. Then sit down at the desk. Then pick up the pencil. Then start writing. Open your laptop. Open up the document. Open up the program that you use to edit. Whatever the thing is that you use to create, to build, to grow, and whatever that career path looks like, it's all in the process of doing the work. you got to fall in love with it, because without the work, you're never going to reach those goals. And if you can't fall in love with the process of the work, then maybe it's not the right thing for you. Or maybe it is, and maybe you just have to keep pushing the envelope and keep reminding yourself of what you're working towards, on top of like the patience we were just talking about. Next thing is my favorite part. It's me versus me. It is me versus me. I'm going to let the success of other people inspire me. I'm going to let them be the example that if they can accomplish these crazy goals, that I can do the same. But I remind myself of, it's me versus me. It's so easy for me to fall into that comparison trap and look around at 26-year-olds that are my age are extremely more successful, quote unquote, right? They have bigger houses, they have more cars, they travel on private jets, they're friends with this person, they've been doing this, their Instagram shows that they travel the world, they have all this, blah, 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 blah. If I fall into the comparison trap, I'm ruined. I'm never going to find the motivation or inspiration to want to keep pursuing my own goals, because I'm comparing myself to other people who are raised in different environments, have different people in their network, grew up in a different environment. There's just so many things that I can't control that got them to where they are today. But I can't listen to them. I have to look at my own journey. I have to fall in love with my own little world that I've gotten. So it's right. So it's like, if it's me versus me, all I need to do is look back on the last week, the last month, last 6 months, last year. Where was I 6 months ago? I was driving Uber full time. That was my way of making a living. I was doing a podcast on the side. Fast forward 6 months, I'm now a full-time content producer for Liquid IV. Never in my life did I imagine that was going to happen, but I kept putting in the work. I kept staying patient. I kept doing what I needed to do. And I did my best to not get distracted by other people's wins. I let that inspire me. And I remember just 6 months ago, just driving around, picking up people, dropping people off, thinking, how beautiful would it be if one day I was actually making a living producing content? And that's what I'm doing now. And if it's me versus me, then that means that I need to let that be the example that I can keep building these dreams and keep chasing these big ass goals. But if I fall into that comparison trap, I'm going to lose myself. So I think it's really, really important. It's a constant comparison of, where are you today and where were you last week? Where were you 6 weeks ago? You have to continuously remind yourself it's your progress. It's not about what other people are doing. It's not about what their Instagram shows them. I mean, right now in this world, we're all pretty much locked down with the coronavirus. But at the same time, when things get back to the way they are, you got to just remind yourself to keep focused on yourself. It is you versus you. And the last thing that I try to remind myself of is stay cruising at that 30,000 feet altitude. And what do I mean by that? I think with success, we have these real high peaks where we're hitting that success. We're really happy. It's that dopamine. It just feels like we're on top of the world. We're telling ourselves we're going to keep that energy moving forward. And then within days, we're right back to like the grind, right back to doing the work. Then there's those other moments where we hit the lows, we hit the valleys, and we just feel like shit. We don't want to do the work. We're not motivated. We're uninspired. It's a struggle for us to get out of bed. It's a struggle for us to open up the laptop. It's a struggle to start writing. It's a struggle to do whatever the passion is. We have to remind ourselves to keep cruising at that 30,000 altitude. It's like flying a plane, right? That plane's going to take off, and once it's up in the sky, it stays cruising at 30,000 feet. It's going to hit a little turbulence to go up, a little turbulence to go down, but we have to keep cruising at 30,000 feet. Enjoy the successes. Take a moment to step outside and embrace the wins. When you're feeling down and you have those low moments, take a moment to cry it out. Take a moment to journal your thoughts. Take a moment to call somebody up and tell them how you're feeling. It's good. It's okay. It's part of being a human being. We have these feelings we can't control. And our best thing to do is lean into it and embrace it when it happens. Enjoy the success. Let it fire you up. And when those lows come, embrace it. Let it happen, because you're going to get right back to that cruising 30,000 feet. And as long as you stay that cruising 30,000, you're going to keep going. The plane's taking off from LAX and I'm going to Boston back to see the fam on the East Coast. I know that it's about a 6-hour flight and eventually I'm going to get there. It's the same thing with our journeys, with reaching our full potential. As long as we know where we're going, there's going to be a couple course corrections along the way. But we have to keep going, right? The plane's got to keep flying. It might have to reroute depending on the weather or like turbulence or whatever it might be. But it's still going to reach that destination. It's the same thing with us. It's not going to be a perfect flight. It's not going to be just sun shining in the air and we're all just good. There's going to be hiccups along the way. But as long as we keep pushing forward and we keep cruising at that altitude to reach our highest potential, or in the plane, you know what I'm saying? We'll eventually get there. So, I've seen this happen in my own life, in my own eyes, right? Like I was kind of talking about before, where I have these goals, I vision them, I manifest them, and I turn them into a reality. And it's not, yes, it's luck, it's timing, it's being in the right place with the right people, it's so many factors. But ultimately, it's just reminding myself to stick to the plan, stick to the vision of wanting to reach my high potential, of what are these things daily that I can do? Read a book, work out, meditate, learn something new on YouTube, listen to podcasts, get inspired, record a podcast, record a vlog. There's these small things every day that they don't seem like they're the biggest game changer, but when you build them over time, it changes the game for the career. It changes my career life, right? Like if I hadn't kept podcasting, I never would have met Brandon Cohn, who was the founder and CEO of Liquid IV. Met him at episode 99, and then fast forward to right around episode 150-ish. That's when I started working for him full time. That's just a small example. But it's on all of us. It's on all of us to keep pushing the envelope, to keep wanting to reach that full potential, and just believing that you're going to get there. It can be a tough time. It can be very much a mind. There's that chatter in our head that's telling us we don't have what it takes, or that, do it tomorrow, and you keep pushing it. Show up and do the work. Follow the steps. Tell yourself, I'm going to do this at this time, and then follow through with it. And believe me when I say this. Believe me. I really want you to really believe this, because I know sometimes we hear this and we see this from people that we watch or get inspired by, and we're like, okay, we get it. If the bearded man can do it, so can you. If I can manifest these dreams into my reality, so can you. Okay? It's nothing but what I've talked about. Patience, counting up those small wins to keep you motivated, doing the actual work, the non-glamorous shit that nobody wants to do, and it doesn't look cool, it's not Instagrammable, it doesn't look hot and sexy. It's the result. The one thing that I missed, let's take it back a notch, is results don't matter. Whoa. Don't let the results stop you from actually doing the thing. If you're letting the results stop you, you're never actually going to get to your goal, because you let the results determine you. You let it stop you. Results should never matter. I truthfully believe that. It should help us learn and understand what areas could we improve on, right? If our product isn't selling, then okay, we have to take it at a different approach, but it doesn't mean we just give up on our business. It means maybe we try different advertising. Maybe we try different collaboration. Maybe we try a different sale, but it doesn't mean we just toss in the towel and we give up. It just means we have to maybe recalculate and try something new. But the results should never stop us from actually doing things. It shouldn't steer us away from the goal. It's one of those things like I was talking about, just a course correction, like flying through the plane. It's just a little course correction, but chasing after a goal, those results should never steer us away. So the results don't matter. It's me versus me. It's always going to be on us to create these opportunities for ourselves, but to know that to let the inspiration and success of other people inspire us. And then lastly, stay cruising and keep pushing that envelope. It's been great to get back into the podcast. I hope you guys and gals really enjoyed this. It's been a hot minute, and hopefully with, this downtime of coronavirus, like I said, I'm trying to lean into these opportunities to create and to utilize the time, and I hope you guys and gals are doing the same. This is something we can't control. Can't control what's happening, but we can stay indoors. We can follow the guidelines. We can focus on ourselves. We can read books. We can try the hobbies that we've always wanted to do, and we can use this moment to keep pushing ourselves to reach our highest potential. Because ultimately, I think in order to reach our highest potential, it's a lot of downtime. It's a lot of alone time. It's a lot of self-reflection. It's a lot of us asking us the tough questions. What is my passion? What is my purpose? What am I trying to do with my life? If I could get rid of money, or if you had all the money in the world, what would you want to do? Start asking these deep questions and then trying to engineer your life to get you towards these goals of what brings you the most happiness. And I think through this coronavirus and through the downtime and being stuck indoors, this is the time to lean into it and to really embrace it, because it's so easy for us to get into our daily routines, keep moving along throughout the week, have our fun on the weekends, and get right back into it. We don't have the time to stop and assess. And I think this is the best time for the world to do it. There's no FOMO. No fear of missing out, because everybody's doing the same thing. They're sitting inside, they're reading, they're watching Netflix, Take the time, utilize it, and embrace it. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash that like button or leave a comment below. This is how we grow this podcast. And if you're listening on the iTunes podcast app, please head to the iTunes podcast app. It's the Bearded Man podcast. We're at 29 reviews. I would love to be at 40. I know we just took a nice 6-week hiatus, and I take that. That's on me because I am the host of the show. But if you guys take just a moment just to write one sentence or one word about how you would best describe this podcast and what you think of it, it's really great for me, and it helps build this show. And I really appreciate the people that take the time to leave some feedback. If you want to take it a step further, share it out on your Instagram. Tag me at Bobbbaaaay, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. That goes a long way. And shoot me a message. Shoot me a DM if there's anything you specifically want me to talk about next, a topic. A lot of these things are just what's something in my mind right now. I want to talk about reaching my highest potential. So here it is for episode 6. And shout out to the 6 guy. This is episode 6. I should have had Drake on the show. That would have been epic. 666. Drizzy, Drake. Hope you guys are well. We'll be back very, very soon enough. Thank you for tuning into the Bearded Man podcast. It's yours and the world's favorite bearded man. This thing is going to get nuts over the next couple weeks. So I hope you guys are ready for it. Have a great rest of your day. Go get it. Let's get them wins. Let's reach the highest potential. See ya.